Hello, super quick intro. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can solve the Hanayama L'Oeuf puzzle, which means I'm going to show you the quickest, but it's not that quick, way to separate the gold piece and the silver piece through those ridiculously long and complex mazes, and then how you can put it all back together in its original position. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so here is a fully assembled L'Oeuf puzzle. Now my hope with this one was that we were going to be able to stay on one side and just move the back piece around the front piece and solve the L'Oeuf puzzle from there. However, there's so many places where you can go wrong with this one and it's just not plausible to do that. So what we're going to have to do is swap from the silver side to the gold side on a very regular basis in order to separate these ones, or for me to show you how to separate these ones. We're going to start off facing with the silver side facing up towards us, and we're going to work our way around the maze to around this bottom corner here. So we're going to come around and up and into this position. And different L'Oeuf puzzles might have different tolerances. So for me, I just have to apply a little bit of force just to get it back down into this bottom position in here. Then we're going to flip over onto the gold side, and what we can then do is come around that first corner, again apply a slight bit of force to get up into this position, and then we can come all the way around and up into this position and around that corner there. Now here we're going to get stuck if we go a little bit further down, so before we do that we're going to flip over onto the silver side. And we're going to go backwards. So we're going to go from this corner back onto the first sort of line of the silver side. So we're going to come around this corner and into this position before we then flip back to the gold piece. But what we can then do is come around that corner and slide all the way down to the bottom position in here. And once we're in this bottom position, we're going to flip back to the silver side. And we're now going to come back around to this position before we go any further with the gold side. So we're just going to come around to this position in here. Once we're here, we can then focus on the gold side again. And we can then come all the way up and pretty much to the end of the gold maze. So we come all the way up and go around that corner, and we continue until we're in this position. Now this is a tease because we're absolutely miles off actually separating these two pieces, but what being in that position allows us to do is come around this corner on the silver side for the first time. So we want to make sure that we come from here round to here, and we want to keep it on this side when we focus back on the gold side, and we're now going to come back down to this position here. But again, we want to make sure that we stay on the right side of that silver side. So once we come all the way down to this position, we're just going to have a quick check that we are around this corner and along here. That's good because we're now in the right position. What we're then going to do is flip the silver piece around into this position, and then we can keep flipping it around as we move up and over that top corner into here. And I'm going to turn our focus to this side, and we're going to come back around this corner and all the way down to the bottom before we can then come back around this corner and down to the bottom on the gold side. So we now come back around here and to this position, and then we can flip our focus back to the silver side. So once we're down in this place, we come back here. And we are all the way back in this position, and we're going to go all the way around here, all the way down to here. Now the moves that we're about to do, you can get stuck on quite a few of them. However, if we just turn back to the gold side for a second, all the moves that we're about to do on the silver side require that in the gold side we stay down this first channel here. If you get stuck at any point, it's probably because you ended up in this channel rather than this channel. So for these next moves, just make sure you're in that right position. So from the silver side, we're going to come all the way up, we're going to come all the way around and down and turn in lots of different corners until we get all the way around to this position. Once we're in this position, we're going to turn back to the gold piece, and we can then come all the way back around, or we can start coming back around at least. So we're going to come up into this position here. Once we're here, we're going to turn back to the silver side, and we're just going to come around this corner and into this position. So once we are here, we come into this position. That was a very slight movement, so we've just literally gone from here to here. And then we're going to flip back to the gold side, and we can then come down this left hand side, this right hand side even, and down to this bottom position in here. Once we're here, we're going to flip back to the silver side, and we are almost there. On the silver side, we now need to get around this corner and down into this position here. So we're going to come around there into this position. Now we're going to flip back to the gold side again, and we can now come all the way to the end, or pretty much to the end, on the gold side. So we come all the way up, and again we can't quite get over the big gap to separate it, but we can get to here where we have been before. Now for the last time, we're going to flip back to the silver side, and we're now just going to work our way around to here, and it's going to get a little bit stuck. All we need to do now is move the silver piece to the right hand side slightly. That then allows us to get around that silver corner, so we're going to make sure we stay around that corner, and then we're going to move the silver piece back into here, and we can then finally separate both pieces, and that is how you disassemble the L'Oeuf puzzle. And for putting the L'Oeuf puzzle back together, we're going to do it in much the same way as we are going to be swapping from silver side to gold side on a regular basis. But we are going to start with on the silver side facing up towards us. So that's how we're going to put it back together. So gold piece on the bottom and upside down if you like, and put the pieces together like this. But it's fairly obvious, there's only one way to put them back together into this position. What we're then going to do is turn the silver piece out to the right hand side, and then come around that corner on the silver piece before we turn it back into this position, which then allows us to come around here, and we then get stuck around this position here. So we're then going to flip our focus over to the gold piece, and we're going to bring it from this top position all the way down to here. And there's no real place to go wrong with this one, so I just all the way around to this position in here. Now when we're here, we're going to flip back to the silver piece, and we're just going to bring this one around to about this position here. So we're going to come around and to here before we then, well, it's already started doing it, but we're then going to come up the gold piece and into this position in here. If we then flip over and focus on the silver piece again, we're actually going to come back around into this position in here. Around to this position, and then we're going to flip back to the gold side, because we can then go from where we are here to all the way down to this bottom position in here. Now the next few moves, as we did when we were taking it apart, we're going to be focusing on the silver side for quite a big distance move now. However, those moves only work if on the gold side you stay in this track the whole time. So if you get stuck during these next few moves, it's probably because you've ended up in this track instead of this one. So as we're focusing on the silver piece now, just keep that in mind. So we're going to come back to this position, to the silver side, and we start in this position, and we're going to end right down in this almost opposite corner. So we're going to come around these corners in here, and we're going to keep coming around until we end up down here. Once we're down here, we're going to flip back to the gold piece, which should finish, or should be where we left it, and we can now come up and around and into this position in here. Once we're here, we're going to flip over to the silver side, where we're now going to bring it around and into this position here. So we're going to come up and around into there, and what that should then allow us to do is come around this corner and slide all the way down to the bottom of this gully, if you like, on the gold side. Now before we go back up the right hand side of the gold piece, what we need to do is get the silver piece from up here to down here. So for that, all we need to do is simply rotate it around and we end up here. We can then flip back to the gold side and we can now come all the way up and to the end on this gold side. And again, there's no real way to go wrong with this one if you're in the right position. If you do get stuck coming up here, it's because you're in the wrong position down here, so just bear that in mind. Then we're going to flip over to the silver side, and what we can then do is come back around this corner before focusing on the gold side. So we just need to come around that corner and make sure it stays around that corner while we do the next few moves on the gold side. So if we flip back over, the gold side now is going to move down here and back down all the way down to the bottom. Here, you should always check that you are here and not here. Which is, yeah, if you are here, then just reverse what we've done, come all the way back up to here, re-go around that corner, and then repeat the actual move, or make sure it's on the right side before you come down and get into this position here. What we can then do is, well, first of all, we need to focus on the silver side, and we're going to bring it all the way back to this first sort of line in here. So we're going to come around there and to there. Once we're here, we can flip back to the gold side, and we can now come up and around and into this position in here. Once we're here, we then just need to do one adjustment for the silver side. So we're now going to go from here back down to this line here, into this position. And once we're in this position, we can then come all the way down to here with the gold side. So we're going to keep turning around that corner and let it come all the way back down. Once it gets to here, again on my puzzle, we need a slight bit of force just to get it right back down to that very bottom position. And then we just need to focus on the silver side to finish us off. So we use a little bit of force again just to start it moving. And then we can go around these corners and to a fully reassembled L'Oeuf puzzle position. So there it is. That is how you disassemble and then reassemble the L'Oeuf puzzle. It's taken me days to try and figure out, first of all, how it works, and then how to show it in a way that's easiest for you to follow along to. And by no means is this the perfect solution to follow along to, but hopefully it helps you in some way. And if you do struggle at all with any of the moves, comment below and I will do my very best to help you with your L'Oeuf puzzle. And thank you very much for being here. If you want to see me struggle through the L'Oeuf puzzle for the first time, or if you want more of these step-by-step Hanayama solutions, then be sure to click my face here to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.